Welcome back everybody to another drawing tutorial. My name is Anthony Amison, and today we'll be covering the fifth step in a portrait drawing series. Today we cover exclusively the outline of the portrait. We will be covering most of this video in time-lapse, just to make sure that we can keep this video a little bit limited. So, in regards to drawing the outline last, this is where I stand. I feel that if I draw the outline first, then I have a lot of issues that come up in my mind. First and foremost, I have a tendency as an artist to stretch and shrink things to fit the outline. I found this in my students throughout the past 10 years of teaching portraits that this is also the case. They have a tendency to stretch the nose, to stretch the philtrum, to stretch the eyes across the face, just to fit this outline. I need you to understand that the outline is not the person. The outline is ever changing throughout a person's life, whether it's weight gain, weight loss, age, or many other factors. But the person that we are looking at is definitely right here within the facial features, within the nose, especially the eyes and the mouth. So I have a tendency to focus on just these things to make sure that I get the likeness of the person, and then I focus on the outline, which is really easy. So I break down the outline in two parts. First and foremost, understanding the hair is 50%, at least 50% of the outline, and then the dreaded chin and cheek area. So sit back, relax, enjoy this time lapse, and then I'll talk to you about it afterwards. Welcome back everybody. All right, so before I get into the hair, I want to cover a few things that I just went through in technique to get this outline established. So I feel pretty confident about the outline. I think everything is pretty much there for the most part. So here is what I did. Again, I always go back to my reference photo here to make sure that I am using comparative measurement to give me information. And in my reference photo, I found that there was a lot of great information that I could use within comparative measurement. So again, I'm always going back to the nose as my reference, and I'm using it to measure everything on my face. So again, I take the nose, I split it into quarters here so that I have a whole nose, a half of nose, and each quarter of the nose. That gives me just enough, I think enough measurement to kind of tell me everything that I need to know on the face, or at least give me a little bit of a resource to figure out how to get things on the face measurement wise. So the first thing that I found in my reference is that the distance from the eye that is facing away from us is exactly half a nose from the white of the eye to the hairline. And so I found that. I came over here and I measured it out. You can see half a nose. There we go. So half a nose. Then I found on the other side it was exactly 3/4 of the nose. And then I came down here, I checked this measurement. I don't always check this measurement, but sometimes, you know, it just kind of helps me get there. I found that this was exactly 3/4 as well. Flip that on its side. I found that from the bottom of the lip to the bottom of the chin, and that's where the highlight is of the chin before it starts wrapping under the face, was exactly one nose length there. So lots of great information. I found the top of the head was about a nose and maybe a half or a quarter or so. So I marked that up there. I realize that's going to be ever changing. It's going to be flexible based on the values that I get established in there and the highlights and all that stuff. So I've put in quite a bit of cross hatching in here. It's a little bit lighter. So I'm pretty happy with the outline of my face at this point. I've made the outline fit the features of the face. I think that's so important. This is the person. I just want to reiterate that over and over again. This is where we see the person and their likeness. The outline of the face it's ever changing throughout life. So instead of focusing so hard on this outline, like a lot of people do, I just focus on the center area. If I can get this right, then the outline will come to pass and it will all look good in the end. But I'm pretty happy with where I'm at this point. I feel like the likeness is there. So now with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into this hair. The hair is also one of those nightmare spots that drawing portraiture people are really scared of it. So whenever it comes to drawing hair, I'm a little more minimalistic in the sense that I don't focus too hard on drawing every single strand of the hair. So really ultimately what I focus on would be finding the highlights, the midtones, and the darkest sections of my hair. So really just focusing on 3 values overall. Really, as I come in through the hair, what I've found is I can usually get away with going in and working extensively in the midtones, bringing back some highlights every now and then with an eraser. Sometimes I leave them if they're extremely stark and very obvious, but then coming in after I get my midtones and my highlights in and putting in my darks. One of the biggest things that I focus on as I'm working through these value scales is the direction of the hair flow. So inside of my hair, I just took note of a couple things. Basically, the hair runs down going this direction on this side of the head, this direction on this side of the head, and in my hair, it comes up this way on top of the head. So that's kind of useful in just kind of establishing what I need to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into time lapse. I'm going to work on the hair, and then I'll talk to you a little bit afterwards about what I might have done there. So sit back and enjoy. All right, welcome back again. So I've come in and I put quite a few different values down on the hair here. I realize that it is nowhere close to being realistic at this point, but there's at least a sense of realism here that matches the overall feel of the portrait. Lots of texture going on within the portrait, within the hair. At least it has a dimensional feel to it with the values, versus lights versus darks and all that kind of good stuff. So at this point, this is kind of where I go into just filling in the portrait a little bit, cleaning it up a little bit. I might use a tool, something like a shading stump here, or a tortillon, if you will, or even sometimes I just use a Q-tip here. But again, here's the key to shading the portrait, whether it's the face or the hair in general. It's not to overblend. We have a tendency to come in and just smooth everything out. If we do that, then it definitely creates this plastic look to the person. There's no real texture to it. So I'm going to leave a lot of texture. I'm going to get rid of some of the texture. I might play around with some of the values in the background just a touch here to clean up a little bit of the shirt here just to create more contrast. But overall, I feel pretty content with this portrait. I think I've caught the likeness. There's definitely some dimensional filling to it here. So whenever I draw in the hair, one thing I do want to say that I did focus on, by the way, is just, again, the direction of it. So whenever I'm drawing in hair, I'm just thinking about the flow of it. So what I kind of like to do is I imagine as if I'm brushing it. So if I'm brushing this hair, I'm brushing it in this direction here, and I'm brushing it in this direction here. What I'm not doing whenever I'm brushing hair is scribbling back and forth. I'm not going to brush my hair back and forth like that, or they would obviously just rat the hair, and it would not be fun. It would probably be pretty painful, to be honest. So instead, what I do is I just brush the hair in a single direction. I focus on putting my pencil down and lifting it off of the paper as I go here, and I make sure that I connect it to the scalp, and I'm just playing around with lots of values. So I can't express enough how important it is for you as an artist to focus on observing the reference photo. The reference photo is who I'm drawing. I'm not making this up. I want to make sure that it looks like the person. There are some artistic liberties that I can take within this, mainly just in regards to how finished it is, how sketchy I may leave it, different things like that. But in the end, I want it to look like that person that I'm drawing, so I need to make sure that I'm observing the person pretty extensively as I'm going through. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and finish this thing up. I'm going to wrap it up with just a time lapse here, and I'm going to do a lot of shading and all that kind of stuff, so enjoy. All right, so that about wraps it up for this series. I feel pretty content with the portrait here. Obviously, it's not 100% realistic. There's a lot of sketchiness to it, but I'm pretty happy with the likeness. I'm pretty happy with a lot of it here. This is just a technique that I think you guys could use to help yourself along with portraits. My advice always to my students is take advice from all different artists. Take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and build your own technique. This is just one of the techniques out there that works for me. So I hope this works for you. I hope it's given you quite a bit of information. I've really enjoyed making this series, and I hope you stick around to see what else I post on my channel here. I'm going to be doing lots of time-lapse drawings in the future, maybe a few more how-tos. But overall, this is just going to be a fun channel for me to play around with. So stick around, subscribe if you like what you've seen. Make sure you go back and check out all these other videos. I think they're going to be really useful. You guys have a fantastic day.